Episode 023 with Cat Thompson. Hello everybody, welcome to One Voice Can Change the World. I am your host Tina Bangle and thank you again for being here. I am so thrilled to have you listening to the podcast again. And our next guest is Cat Thompson, a singer-songwriter from Sydney, Australia. She is an R&B artist, and she also is an actress, a dancer, a very, very talented dancer, and I really hope you enjoy this podcast interview with her. But before we start that interview, I just wanted to give a shout out to our reviewer of the week, which is Blessy, and she says, "Beautiful Tina, thanks so much for inviting me on your show. It really does take courage and vulnerability to do something like this. So thank you for encouraging me to even do this and let alone share my journey. You're so great to chat with. I forgot we were on air, but for real, thank you. Please continue interviewing others and get your voice heard. Big, big love to you and your family. Talk soon." Thanks, Blessy. And that was a review from Blessy Palapple, who you can find on episode 19. So check it out. I first met Cat backstage during a concert, which was my former student's concert, Jasmine Henry, and Cat was one of the support artists. And I just found her to be so beautiful. We chatted backstage and I got to know her and just found her to be very clever and just very down to earth, very humble, and she's just an impressive performer, impressive girl. So let's dive into this episode with Cat Thompson. Welcome to One Voice Can Change the World podcast. I'm your host Tina Bangle, vocal coach and professional vocalist. In each episode, we bring you an inspiring person doing wonders in the music industry today. We hope to give you motivating messages to help you navigate towards your musical dreams. I'm so grateful you're here, and now let's give you something to sing about.
I've been singing since I was really little, and I just loved it. I think I drove my parents nuts because I would always sing like songs from The Bodyguard as like a toddler, and so you can imagine like this little half-caste child running around the house just singing at the top of its lungs. And I mean, children sound great when they sing, but when they hit those really, really high pitch notes at that age, it's so piercing. And I think I drove my parents nuts trying to hit any note that Whitney Houston could sing. So that's how I started. Yeah,
it would have been cute to see.
I think it was probably cute for the first bit, and then my parents were like, "Okay, sing something else now." Like, and I'm like, "No, I want to sing Whitney."
Oh, cute. So is your mum Filipino?
Yeah, my mum's Ilocano, so she's from the very top of the Philippines.
Mm-hmm. And then your dad, where's he originally from?
My dad's from Belfast. He's Northern Irish.
Oh, okay, great. And so how did they meet? Did they meet in Australia?
No, my dad traveled extensively. He's traveled the world, and he happened to be doing a little trip in the Philippines, and that's where he met my mum.
Oh, lovely.
And he wouldn't leave her alone, apparently. Like, he was just madly in love with her, and she didn't want to date him, so he had to do the whole court thing. You know how in the Philippines they do the courtship sort of thing for like 6 months? She was very traditional, good Catholic girl, and she was like, no. So,
did she come from a big family? Do you have a huge family in the Philippines?
Mum does, yeah. Mm-hmm. On her side, they have like millions of cousins, and like everyone's all my aunties, and lots of family.
So you grew up were you born in Japan, or did you just grow up there?
Oh, I just grew up there. My brother was born there. I was born in Brisbane, and then when I was 9 months old, my dad, obviously having contacts in Asia, decided to try his luck in Japan, and then he got a job there. So he called Mum up and said, "That's it. We're moving to Japan."
Yeah.
And so I grew up there. Yeah.
So how did you spend primary school there, or how many years?
Yeah. We were there for about 10 years, just under 10 years. Yeah. So I went to school there. I was the only foreign child in an all-Japanese school, and I was spoilt rotten by all the locals because obviously I was the token foreign child, so yes. I got to know everything.
Oh, lovely. And did you have music lessons there, or how did music come about for you?
With piano, I mean, I always loved singing, but my parents decided to put me into piano lessons, mostly because I was a very vocal child. I was very strongly, I strongly knew what I wanted. And there was a piano shop that we used to walk past all the time, and it had what we used to call the ghost piano. And so, you know, those old sort of pianos that have the roller, I think. Yes. I can't remember the word for it. Yeah, so the keys would just move.
Yeah.
And as a child, I thought that was fascinating. So I'd go and sit there and try to follow the keys. And so then I kept saying, I want to play piano. So then my parents enrolled me. I was about 6 when they enrolled me into piano lessons, because I just wouldn't stop asking for them. So,
Great. And then when did you start singing, did you take lessons for singing?
Yeah, my mum found me a vocal coach. I was singing before that. I was in obviously things like little school choirs and all those sort of things growing up. But it wasn't until I was about 13 and my mum found me a vocal coach, Filipino lady, and she trained more of the performance side of things, as well as obviously, you know, technique. And then after that, I had a opera singing coach. I had previous management, and they said that I should try and learn foundations. Yeah. So, yeah, that's
and how did you find doing the opera singing?
It was really interesting because I had come from like an urban sort of sounding. I mean, I grew up with obviously the 80s music and the 90s and the R&B sort of sound, and so for me, going into something classical was beautiful. I really loved doing it, but I found it challenging because I was very afraid that I would sound too operatic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At the time, I would lose my raw R&B sort of sound. But I remember being told by my teacher that she said, you can sound, if you can just switch between them whenever you want, it's you just keep the technique. And you can use that technique right across the board. It doesn't matter what style you're singing, but you need technique so that your vocals will last the test of time.
It's interesting. Yeah, I went to a singing teacher who was also trained me in opera as well, but he kind of adjusted it to suit me. But once there was a girl who was opera singer, and she had like the high tone in her voice, and she was finding it really difficult to create a chesty tone.
Yep.
Yeah, and he spent he asked me to sit in the lesson, and he was like going like this to his chest, and he goes, okay, sing la. So he was doing that, and then he was beating his chest so that she could find the vibrations in her chest, so that she'd come out of the head voice and then feel more vibration, and because she wanted to start singing jazz, but she had that operatic training that she was so in at the time. Yeah, so it was really interesting. It's you didn't feel that it affected you in terms of losing that urban sound, or?
I think that was an interesting thing. Like, I mean, I went into the studio. I was working with different producers at the time, and they were saying, "Oh, you're sounding very classical." And that's when I was talking to my singing coach, and she said, "Okay, we've got to learn for you to be able to do both without losing one or the other. Like, you should be able to do both. It's just that you're now learning this, and then you're in the habit of doing that." So
yeah. So how did you get to your voice to, like, if they were saying to you, don't sound operatic?
Yeah, that's like the producers were like, don't sound operatic. Yeah. I think it was just one of those things, like, you just have to practice doing both, and then learning to switch between the two. I wasn't doing extensive opera training. It was more learning the sound, like the breathing, like how to use. Like, I mean, luckily it was weird. I went in, and my singing coach thought I didn't have any training, which I had a little bit, but then going in, she was like, "Oh, you already know how to use your diaphragm," and that was something I taught myself. I didn't know. It was just something that I had done naturally and had been doing it over the years. So I already knew how to use my diaphragm, but it was more like rounding the sounds as you do. You know what I mean? Like the positions of where your tongue and mouth and how everything should be. So those things, like the technique that I hadn't been taught, those were the things she was polishing.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, great. And so how old were you at the time that you were learning from her, and you were doing recordings already?
I was 18.
Oh, cool. So you moved back to Queensland after Japan?
We moved to Sydney for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we went to Queensland after that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you've been around.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And then now you're living in Sydney, right?
Yeah, now in Sydney again.
Okay, cool. So who are your inspirations in music? Who are your mentors apart from your first singing teachers?
I think that's the thing as an artist. I think, and I think that's the thing as even as a singer. I have so many different people as inspirations, and I take from so many different artists, and even just general performance, like different style dancers and etc. So I think that you can't be an artist and not be able to pay homage to people like your Michael Jacksons and your Beyoncés and people like Elvis Presley, who were incredible performers. And I think that as an artist, if you take a little bit from each as inspiration and create then yourself and add that flavor of yourself, that's the most beautiful thing. Like, you never want to be exactly like someone else, but I can't say that there was one artist who influenced me. Like, there are just so many. So
yeah, because I see a little bit of J-Lo.
It's a lot. Yeah, she's amazing, honestly, and she is so hot. Like, I hope that I hope that I look as good as her after having kids, because she's got twins and she looks incredible.
Well, yeah, I guess having the dance background,
it helps
from the very start.
Yeah.
Really helps. So your body just goes back to shape.
I hope so, because I
know. I'm sure it will happen to you too. So when did you start dancing?
Actually, I was about 16, 17. I was atrocious at it. I'm more of a freestyle dancer, so I was not studio trained or anything. So I was really bad at picking up choreography, and I had a friend who was a choreographer, and he kept saying to me, "You need to do fast songs. You need to do fast songs." And I said, "I can't do fast songs because I suck at dancing. It's like I'm going to look terrible up there." Because I would do all the big ballads, like I'd sing your Whitneys, your Mariah songs. I'd do all the big high notes and things that other people didn't want to try doing. I would go for those, because everyone else could dance, but they would struggle hitting the notes, whereas I couldn't dance, but I could hit the notes.
Yes.
So that's what I was doing. And then he said, "No, that's it. I'm going to get you to dance." So we picked the song, and he did his little choreography thing, and I practiced, and I was terrible. But I practiced and practiced and practiced, and then finally did it. And I loved it. I absolutely fell in love with performing on stage, dancing and singing at the same time. So then I worked really hard at it, and it just became part of my show.
When you say you worked hard at it, how many hours would you train? How many days would you practice? How would you go about practicing? Did you hire out a hall, or what did you do?
I literally, when it comes to practice, you don't need a hall. You don't need all the shebang. You just need a space. If you can get a mirror, and like what you have behind you is perfect, as long as it's a full-length mirror, or you can see most of yourself, and practice in the mirror, and then practice out of the mirror. And I would practice in my living room. I would practice in the garage. I would practice just wherever I could practice, and I would practice all the time. So I still feel like I'm not the best dancer in the world. I love dancing, and I just want to become better and better and better. There are other people out there who are so incredible, who I look at and I'm just like, "Oh, I really want to be like you." So I don't think that there's a point where anyone ever stops learning. And I mean, you can just stop learning if you want to, but I feel like you won't progress if you don't look at other people who are doing great things and be inspired by them. So literally just start in your living room. That's what I did. And start in your garage if you have a space there. If your parents don't mind you playing the music, get out and just do it, because it's something that develops over time.
Yeah, and it's a matter of doing it over and over until it feels natural to you.
I have amazing people around me who I am very blessed to be able to bounce ideas off. Like I have a choreographer who he teaches at Sydney Dance Company. His name's James Dean, and he does my choreography for my shows. It's amazing to have someone who I can bounce. Like my last music video, which hasn't been released yet, I had all of the plans of what I wanted to do, but I would bounce all the ideas off him. I'd take him to the set and I'd make him stand in the shot so that I could see what it would look like for my dancers to be there, what it would look like if I was standing in that position, but he would be my model basically. And then he would do the choreography and I'd be like, let's move it here, or let's do this and do that. And he'd say, no, I think this would be good. And then sometimes if you have someone you can bounce ideas off, it's brilliant. I have some amazing producers that I've worked with who suggest things that I wouldn't normally have thought of. And then if I bounce an idea off them, they're like, oh, that's brilliant. Let's maybe try this as well with it. And it's amazing to have other creative types around you. So I don't really have essentially one mentor. I just have some beautiful people around me who I'm very blessed to be able to share my creative journey with, and who bless me with their time and their talent. So
yeah, very lucky. And when you do your video clips, like your film clips, how do you who creates it, and who's your go-to person to do the clips with?
Okay, so obviously my choreographer. So obviously I'll go to James and say, this is the music that I have. I've written it, we've recorded it, it's all ready to go, or I've co-written it if I'm working with someone in particular. And so I obviously give it to James and he works on the choreography, and then he'll come back and he'll say, oh, this is what I've come up with based on the ideas you've given me.
Yeah.
And then and so they'll approve it, or I'll say, oh, I want to change this or change that, etc. And then I work with different videographers. This last video I worked with two really, really creative, amazing people. One called Ashpan, and he does a lot of stuff for the dance world. So he's filming dances. And I also worked with another guy called Jared Bain, and he's got this beautiful creativeness about him. I did a video for him previously, more of a writing sort of role, and he had this scene where he had me jump. This is separate from a music video, but he had me jumping off a cliff into the ocean, and he actually jumps with you, just to get the shot. And that's how, like, a good videographer, a good cameraman. Have you seen those pictures where this is what the photo looks like, and this is how the cameraman got it, and he's like in this weird contorted position just to try and get the shot?
Yes.
So we're working with people who are willing to put themselves in the weirdest positions to try and get the perfect shot, and will go into freezing cold water just to get that perfect moment. You're working with someone who's very special. So
that's great.
It's my two that I worked with for my music video, and obviously I had my backup dancers as well.
Yes. So when is your new one going to be released?
We are yet to set the date.
Okay.
I've got a meeting about that soon. So
excellent. And tell us
when it's ready.
Yeah, let us know, and tell us about your new song, your new single.
So I just released Be Mine. It's now available worldwide, which is amazing. It's recently just got airplay in the Philippines. It's starting to get airplay here. We're getting a little bit of play over in the States as well at the moment. So it's slowly just filtering out of everywhere. And the song itself it was perfect as a Valentine's song. I mean, I don't know. I didn't think of it at the time, but I was asked by a radio station if they could feature it as their Valentine's theme song. And I was like, oh, yeah, Be Mine. I didn't didn't even think of that. So yeah, so it's like basically if you're in love with someone and you just want them to be yours, it's that's what it's about. So
yeah. Oh, wonderful. And I know distribution is so important for your music. What have you learned? Because how many singles have you had already? How many?
This will be my third independent release.
Yeah.
But my first with my new management. So.
Okay, yeah. Congratulations. So in terms of distribution, if someone wants to distribute their music, what are some of the things that you've learnt along the way that you've thought, oh, okay, I didn't do this last time, but, or, you know, how did you get your music to America, to the Philippines, and for people who want to do the same as you?
Well, the first thing I learned, the first thing I learned with distribution is you don't have one place that you can go to. Like, there are so many different options. It's really all to do with what contract you're willing to sign, what you're comfortable with, where you want it to go, where you want the song to appear. Like, there are some great places. Like, Australia's biggest distribution company is, as far as the top of my head, as far as I know, it would be MGM or Groove Merchants. They represent Australians internationally and worldwide, and they are the biggest, as far as I know, for Australian artists. So, I mean, you can go with some of those guys, and they're really lovely. I know the guys who run that. Then there's also like your online options where you can go to like CD Baby, you've got TuneCore, there's another one, but I forgot what it was called. And all of them, it's really, honestly, they all provide a brilliant service. It just depends on how hands-on you want the distribution company to be. So if you're wanting more of somebody you want to be able to call someone up and something goes wrong and you want 24-hour service on the spot, I recommend going with a big company that has the support staff. And also, because you're on the phone to someone, it's more like you're getting more of the service. If you're on a budget and you really just want to throw something up, go with, there's one off my head I can't remember, but they don't have as many fees. So it's honestly, it's about picking the relationship you want, the kind of relationship you want, how much you want to pay, and how much support that you want from the distribution companies. And also you can look at their reach. Like, all distribution companies will show you on their website where they can get your song. So have a look at those things and decide. It's all to do with your budget and what you want out of it. So it's kind of like, I guess, picking your phone plan. But not so much like it's more extensive than that, because they're going to get your song everywhere for you or in your selected stores. So you want to have someone you want to have a company that you're comfortable with, that you trust, and you're happy with what the contract says.
And what about do you organize that, or does your manager organize that?
So with me, I already had mine all set up because I'd had a long-standing relationship with mine. But you can just literally, what I say is shop around. That's what I suggest. So luckily, I already had mine ready to roll, but I didn't. So originally, when I was completely no management and handling my career just by myself, so I had to go through and meet with different people from different companies and go online and research and read. So the biggest thing I say for any artist is literally read. Go online, Google, research. It is the one free, everything is there platform where you're going to find all the information. If someone's had a bad experience with some company or anything, you'll find it on there. We go online and see the reviews for lunch when we want to go to a restaurant. So do the same thing when you're looking at companies. Do the same thing when you're looking at management deals, or just look at everything. Just go online, research. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to meet people and question, because most people are happy to help. That's the one thing. Like, educate yourself. And you don't have to be afraid to ask anyone. I think that's the one thing that was so beautiful about being a musician. Like, there are so many people out there so happy to help you. You just have to ask.
That's great advice. What's a perceived value that you've had during your career and or even releasing a song and looking back, it was the best thing that ever happened to you?
Best thing that ever happened to me?
Or it turned out to be, that was a blessing in disguise.
I think I've had amazing blessings along the way, and I'm so thankful for every single one of them. But one that really sticks to mind was, first of all, the internet. I think the internet is a blessing to everyone. That's why I'm a very strong advocate for just educating yourself on the internet. I mean, obviously, shift through. There's excuse my language, but the crap, and then there's the good stuff. But learn to shift through those things. But the internet is the greatest tool today for artists, and the reason I say that is because it happened to me. I had a Facebook, a MySpace account, etc. I was hit up by some random person. I'd never met them before. They added me on Facebook, and they contacted me and said, look, we'd love to bring you to the Solomon Islands. You have a fan base here, and we'd love for you to come over and do shows. And I thought, I've heard of the Solomon Islands, but I don't know anything about the place. And it could have been one of those, like, if we have a big bank account here for you in some random country, like, send me an email, one of those, like, scam emails sort of thing. So it could have been anything, but I just went with it and just went, I'd love to come over. I'll pass your details to my management. And about 2 weeks later, I was on a plane heading over to a city called Honiara to do a concert over there. And I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the place. And that was literally just off one message sent to me via Facebook chat from a person I'd never met before, but had seen my stuff and liked it online and wanted to bring me over to do shows. And I've fallen absolutely in love with the place. And it's one of the things, like, the internet is so incredible. I got to go to a place and meet people that I didn't know much about, and I think that's the thing. Like, who would say you could get that kind of experience? These things are available over the internet. It happens.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest blessings I ever had, was getting to meet a whole culture of people that I may have never actually got to meet if it hadn't been for social media and the internet.
Yeah, it's amazing what social media can do these days. And connecting with people that you admire, some people that you idolize, and even creating opportunities to collaborate.
Yeah.
It's really awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what's one song that changed your life?
So many, but I think the biggest one, I'll have to just, pay homage to the queen of all voices. Like, I mean, if it hadn't been for Whitney, I don't know. I know I would have loved music, but she's the one voice that stood out over the years. I remember her listening to her track over and over and over. It never left me. From the age of 2 all the way onwards, I would always listen to her and just practice singing, trying to sound like her. I will never sound like her. I've come to terms with that. There is only one Whitney. But her music was just, it was the one thing that made me really want to sing as a child. So
I remember sitting on my kitchen floor with my cassette player, and I first got my I Will Always Love You single, and that was on repeat all the time. It was just like play, rewind.
My mom was like, Kati, can you please play something else, please? A really strong Philly accent. Please, Kati, I'm sick of that song.
Oh, really? Yeah, but it's amazing how, like, you try to do the exact vibrato and try to get those high notes. And, she was just phenomenal. She was amazing.
Yeah, and I think she's influenced a whole generation of singers out there. I mean, there are many amazing singers out there I know who just it's the big acts from the 80s that really just, their vocals are so incredible.
What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self looking back?
My 18-year-old self? Everything will be okay. Everything will be okay. I think at that age, and I remember being at that age, and most of us did go through this, where you didn't know what the future was going to bring. You were excited but nervous and scared at the same time, and you didn't really feel confident with what you looked like, who you were as a person. Maybe you weren't confident about your friendships. None of that matters in years to come. Like, your real friends will stay with you. The ones who are just there for fun, they'll come and go, and you'll have a great time with them, and then they'll move on, and everything will be okay. Like, everything that stresses you out at that age, it doesn't matter years to come. So,
exactly. That's what I would give my advice to my 18-year-old self as well.
You'll be all right.
Yeah. What are you obsessed with at the moment?
Obsessed with?
Yeah, obsessed with in terms of, like, nobody really, like, you haven't really told anybody, or someone that you've followed, or something that you've discovered in terms of food, or I don't know, anything that you're obsessed with at the moment.
I'm obsessed with macadamia spread.
Oh, really?
There's this gorgeous, like, macadamia spread that you can only get from Byron Bay. So I'm always asking people who go up there, I'm like, can you please bring me back this spread? Because I can't find it anywhere. So I'm obsessed with that.
What do you put it on? Just your bread?
Bread, corn cakes, whatever I can put it on. So it's like, when you first discover sweet chili sauce and you just put it on everything, and it's just like, some things you shouldn't put it on, but you still do.
Yes.
So I just love macadamia spread. I don't know why, it's my thing. Music wise, I'm really loving Ed Sheeran at the moment. Like, at the moment, I mean, I've always loved his stuff, but, like, his stuff's so beautiful. So, and I think, it's like a different genre from what I sing R&B, but I really, really, and I know he can cross into that, but he does more of the acoustic sort of stuff. And I think that, you should be able to appreciate so many different styles, because you can be influenced or fall in love with a sound just if it's done well. And what he does is just beautiful. I don't know anyone who doesn't like Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, he's amazing. Have you watched his, I don't even know which program it is. I remember watching it on the way to New York when on the plane, and it was just him and his concert, and how he loved Elton John, and it was just about his story. And Elton John was in his dressing room waiting for him to finish his show, and his final song, his guitar pedals wouldn't work, so he couldn't do his final song, and he was so upset. Elton John was backstage consoling him, and he was just so frustrated. But it was a really good like a documentary. So
I'll have to check it out.
You'll have to check it out. It's really good. The podcast is called One Voice Can Change the World. If I offer that to you, what does that mean to you?
For me, I think that one voice, it doesn't matter whether it's a singer, a voice that speaks, it's one voice that has over the years influenced so many different people, all the way from, obviously, Whitney influenced me. We had Winston Churchill influence a whole country to want to go on and continue fighting for World War II. So, I mean, you've got people who, like Martin Luther King, who his one voice influenced a whole generation plus of people to want to fight for better rights. And so there are so many people out there with just one voice, and that's what I think, one voice can definitely make a difference. And I think that's what every person should do. You've only got one voice, but it's so powerful. Use it to make the world a better place. Use it to influence people, to make them better people, or influence them to improve their lives. If you can use the one thing that you have, it's free. It costs you nothing to say or sing or share.
Yeah.
So that's what it means to me.
Yeah, well, wonderful. And it's the same with, what you said. It could be your voice, it could be a form of dance, that could be your voice as well, and even your artwork or So thank you. So tell us how people can follow you. Where's the best place to connect with you if they have a question or if they want to download your music?
If they want to get music, it's available on all your favorite online music stores. So your iTunes, Google Store, Amazon, etc. If you want, you can stream it on Spotify or it's on Pandora, etc. So feel free to go check it out there. If you'd like to come say hi to me, I've got my Facebook, so you can come say hi to me. You can just look up Cat Thompson and I'm there, or you can get me on Instagram, Cat Thompson Official. And I've also got a YouTube channel, so if you want to leave comments under the videos, I always reply to everyone. And if you've subscribed, you'll see the new videos coming up and you won't miss out on anything.
Yay! And we'll have it on the show notes. Thank you so much for being on the show, and all the best with your song and Be Mine. And we'll make sure that we'll look out for your new film clip.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to everyone seeing it, and it's a bunch of dancing and pretty scenes, and it's just fun.
Oh, lovely.
So if you can go out and do a music video just for fun, just do it. It's fun.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Kat, so much, and thank you. All right. Bye.
See ya.
Wasn't she absolutely wonderful? I just loved her energy and her uplifting soul. So please go out and check out her Be Mine single and all her other videos and music, and follow her. Now, before you go, I would like to invite you to the 5-day singing challenge, and you can find the link on the show notes. 5-day singing challenge is all about getting out of your comfort zone and putting yourself out there for others to listen to your music and learn about you. So if you want to gain more followers on Instagram or Facebook, please join us. It's pretty easy. Just go on the show notes. There's a link there. You just need to click on the link, enter your details, and you're in. You'll receive 5 days worth of challenges. They're very easy challenges, nothing too strenuous, very easy to do. You can just grab your iPhone, sing on it for a few seconds or however long you want to make the video, and share it with the world. Hope you join us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.